community of faculty, staff, and students to discuss all things Arkansas State University. Live from the ASU-TV studios in the School of Media and Journalism, this is A-State Connections. And hello, everyone. Welcome to A-State Connections on ASU-TV. I'm an academic advisor at Arkansas State University. My name is Jonathan Reeves, and I'm glad that you're with us today. Today, we're going to talk about one of the shows that are part of the 2024-2025 season with the Arkansas State University Department of Theater. Ride the Cyclone will be performed starting November 15th. And telling us more about this today is Assistant Professor of Theater and Dance, Brianna Larson, and student and cast member Emma Bryant. Thank you both for joining us here on A-State Connections.
Thank you for having us.
So I want to get a little bit of a background before we start about you both individually. Brianna, tell us first of all, about you and how you came to Arkansas State.
Out of grad school, this is where I found a home teaching in higher education. And it's just been, I think, the perfect place to start and grow. The community within the university and within our department is really friendly and familial, I'd say. So it's a really happy place to create theater and create art, and yeah.
Good deal. Emma, tell us about yourself and how you came to Arkansas State.
Yeah, I am a senior musical theater major here at A-State. I chose to come here because it seemed like the perfect amount of distance from home. I'm from Northwest Arkansas, so it's like a 5-hour drive for me, and I knew I wanted to get somewhere where I could be independent but still be close enough to home within a 5-hour drive. And yeah, the community here at A-State is just really tight in the department. We're all really close, like we're all really good friends, and it's big enough to where we can do really good size and really good quality shows without it being too big of a pond.
Sure.
You know, too many fish.
Yeah, plenty of opportunities for the students.
Yes.
Yeah. Fantastic. How did you get interested in this, Emma? Was it something in high school? How did you get involved in that?
I've always loved performing. Like I did pageants when I was younger, and I did talent shows and stuff because I've loved singing since I was like 5. So I knew I wanted to do something performative, but I didn't really know what until high school. I started choir in like 6th grade, and I knew that I was going to be able to get to start doing theater in high school, and as soon as I started, I was like, this is where I need to be. Yeah.
Hooked.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. So tell us about the show for people who are not familiar about Ride the Cyclone, and Brianna, I'll start with you.
Yeah. So I guess one of the things maybe you don't expect with a musical is that it's a one act, it's straight through, there's no intermission. Part of that being, as the title says, it's a roller coaster ride from start to finish. The show itself, the way that it's built and the ups and downs it takes you on, and an intermission would just interrupt that ride.
Right.
So once you're in your seats, hang on for the ride, and we go straight through. And like I said, twists and turns. It also doesn't have one musical genre. Most shows, like, oh, it's a rock show, or oh, it's really classical, or this is kind of a pop show. This sees all those things. Pop sound, cabaret sound, there's rap, all sorts of feels that take you through with the movement and the music as each of the characters express themselves. And I don't know if you want to talk more sort of about the characters we're meeting and the journey they're on, since you're one of them.
Yes. So yeah, each of them have a different musical genre that helps them tell their story. So each character has their own song that they get to use to kind of plead their case to the like fortune teller machine, Karnak.
Yeah, it's a group of high school students, we should say, who met their untimely demise on the Cyclone, and here they are in this afterlife space,
limbo space,
and this fortune teller, Karnak, is letting them know one of them can go back.
Oh.
Yes.
So they're competing through these songs to talk about who they are and why they deserve it, maybe.
Yes, yeah, the stakes are high, so they come to this space, this warehouse, where all of the fair pieces have come to kind of just die, basically. They're kind of all just sitting here, and this fortune teller machine comes to life and says, hey, one of you can come back, let me hear what you have to say. And so each of these characters kind of takes their turn pleading their case through their songs, And there's one mystery contestant, Jane Doe, and I play her. So
Okay,
yeah.
awesome. So with that, Jane Doe, how have you been able to kind of transform yourself into Jane Doe, and has there been like challenges associated with that?
Yes, certainly. Jane Doe is a character that basically has the absence of character. Like, she is unfortunately decapitated in this accident. So no one is able to identify her in life, and so when she comes to the afterlife, no one is able to identify her there either. The other characters there or herself. So she basically is stripped of her identity, and has to try to navigate who she is and be known by the other people there. And she comes to the space there with a doll head on her head. And she has a headless doll with her, which is insane.
Because, carnival, musical theater.
Yeah,
right.
exactly, right.
So I'm a doll from here up, and that means that I can't have very expressive facial expressions because I'm a doll from
Okay.
here up. So I have to be very stoic while still going through this journey with everyone else.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I know that alone has to be some challenges. Kind of reminds me of the Nutcracker in a way, in some of the areas where you're dealing with, dolls and and that, and kind of how the movements are, and especially that one part where if they're like trying to wind up the doll, and how and how they're kind of making the movements and all that, and it's. That has to be able to have that kind of control is something that people may not realize. That's challenging right there to be able to do that, especially if you're having to do that for like long periods of time.
Yeah, she's very rigid, and Brianna's even had to tell me to not cry at the end. She's like, dolls don't cry, you can't cry. And I'm like, please.
There's no crying in baseball or something like that.
Yes, A League of Their Own. I love
Yes.
that. I love that movie.
So with that, how did you make that connection? I mean, what kind of attracted you to Jane Doe? Is it because it's a challenging part to play?
Yes, she has a very challenging vocal part. Her song is very different from the others because it's sort of operatic, and that was just really exciting to me because I'm a soprano, and I was like, oh, this sounds like so much fun to get to do kind of an opera piece in such a very contemporary musical theater space.
Yeah.
So that was really exciting and challenging for me, but just to get to play such an interesting character that I've never seen before in other shows was what attracted me to her.
Brian, I wanted to ask you about what was it about this show, the musical Ride the Cyclone, was something that intrigued you to say, you know what, I think this is something that we want to do.
I think it's with each sort of. So I think it's a mixture of its initial impression, which when we first came across it, it was students that suggested it for our season selection. It's just fun. When you first look at it, you're like, holy cow. Just all of this fun, playful, turn this way, that way, didn't expect that happening that comes at you. And then for myself, each sort of rereading or looking at it from the director lens and the choreographer lens, since I'm doing both of those with this production, and as I sort of peel back the layers, all of the really sort of interesting and deep things that are being communicated to our audience, maybe that you don't even realize till after you leave the show. I mean, we're dealing with themes that youth deal with, and even as we grow up and think we're past that, the idea of identity and popularity contests in high school, and being accepted because of these different things or not, being true to yourself because of that. We see these students come to this space because, they're together because they're in the choir, even though they might not be friends in high school, but now they're in this space together and they slowly share who they actually are.
Yeah.
And then what does that mean for how the others relate to them? And are they getting the response they were expecting to reach the end of this ride that the show takes them on?
It sounds like it's one of those things where audience members will be able to come away hopefully with a lot of conversations afterward, because it blends not just into that part of the the storytelling fictional parts of it, but it does also blend into a lot of reality as well.
Yeah, and I feel like for me, I look at it both as looking back to myself when I was younger and what possibly our younger audience is getting from it when they see it. But there's moments that I see what it means for my children, like as a mother, and it just hits home in this whole different way when certain things are discussed. And I think about how my children are experiencing or soon to experience some of those things. It's just, yeah, roller coaster ride.
Yeah, exactly. Twists and turns and, all that stuff. So, one thing I was going to ask you about is being able to do a musical like this. How is it? Obviously, there's going to be a lot different than just a regular play, I guess, in that. So what are some of the challenges, well, not really challenges, but maybe the preparation I know is a lot different for that. And how do you navigate through directing and choreographing a musical?
A lot of pre-production and prep. So when I'm directing I shouldn't say just a play, when I'm directing a play so that there isn't music involved, when I'm reading the script, I'm, looking at all of the layers of what the characters are going through and how we might stage things, but I don't have the added, okay, and then we have to break into song and we have to sort of grow and earn that as a need for the character. And then we need to get to earning the need to dance and all of that. And the pre-production that goes into just prepping it. Emma's also dance captain on the show. And so she's been doing some of the pre-production work with me, which is just let's get in a room and play and throw choreography together to see what we like and how it fits and how it flows and how it tells the story appropriately, to then put that into rehearsals. And then just planning a rehearsal schedule to fit in learning your music, because you need to know what you're singing before you can dance to it. You need to learn that choreography before you know what props we're adding or where your blocking is. And when we're doing a play, we can jump right to the blocking and the meat of the characters. So I think sometimes it takes longer for you all to have the chance to really feel like you're owning the character, because you have to sing it and dance it and act it all at once while layering the character's experience in.
I think one of the beauty thing, and we're going to talk about this. Actually, I'll tell you what, let's take a break because I wanted to go into the next part of this.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be fair to ask the question and then have you start like, oh, hold on, we got to take a break. So let's just go and do that. We're going to take a break real quick, and then we'll go back to the next part of that. Assistant Professor of Theater and Dance, Brianna Larson, and student and cast member Emma Bryant joining us, talking about Ride the Cyclone on A-State Connections. We'll take a break, be back right after this.
I think one of the things I learned at Arkansas State was life is 10% of what happens to you, 90% of how you respond to it, and that's just something that I live by.
A-State is home, and they're going to treat you like you're a part of the family.
Red Wolf Radio is a student-led organization at Arkansas State University wanting to hear your takes on pop culture, music, the news, and college life. Just about anything you can think of. Located in the Education and Communications building on campus, we are always looking for more volunteers. So if you're an Arkansas State University student, no matter the major, and this is something that interests you, shoot us an email at redwolfradio@astate.edu. That's redwolfradio@astate.edu. Let them hear you howl.
Live from the ASU-TV studios in the School of Media and Journalism, this is A-State Connections. And welcome back to A-State Connections on ASU-TV. I'm Jonathan Reeves. Today we're continuing our conversation about Ride the Cyclone, and that's going to be with Assistant Professor of Theater and Dance, Brianna Larson, also student and cast member Emma Bryant joining us here today. Thanks. Welcome back. We appreciate y'all being here on A-State Connections.
Thank you again.
So on this, it's going to be held in the Drama Theater, and that tell us about the Drama Theater and how that helps with the storytelling. 'Cause I know that you all pick some plays would be better in a smaller area than, like, say, the Grand Hall, in the Riceland Hall, and that. So some areas might be a little bit better for being able to tell stories. Tell us about how the Drama Theater really helps in telling the story.
Do you want to jump in?
Yeah. So I think the drama theater is a good fit for this show because it is such like a technical spectacle that rhyming. But you know, we have all these old carnival rides, and it takes place in a warehouse. So to have that big space but tell such an intimate story, I think really serves this. And to help create that intimacy with this small cast, we also put a lot of it more downstage than we normally would. I help build the set as well because I'm in lab with Jeff McLaughlin every day. So I'm kind of there for a lot of it, but I think just having the big space with the tighter, smaller stage on the stage helps tell the story.
And like you said, it's not as big as Ryson, like a large concert hall where tours and things come through where your audience ends up way, way, way away from you.
Sure.
It is the larger, for the theater department, the larger of our two spaces we utilize in our main stage season, but it's still less than 400 seats in the house. So even the back of the house isn't that far from the audience. So you do have that expanse for the spectacle and just what happens to you. But like Emma said, the set is pulled somewhat downstage, so you still feel sort of in and on top of some of it.
Yeah, and that's what's really brilliant is about when you get that intimate setting in that. I've seen some plays that have been played, they've been performed, and performances have been performed in the round, where you've got that, and then also in kind of an area like that. And I think that's really cool how that seems to be, that is so much a part of the storytelling, the setting of that, as is anything else. And I think that's really, really awesome how y'all are able to pick stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think that's cool. One of the questions I was going to ask you before you go to break is, Emma, it just sounds like you're doing a little bit of everything on the show, pretty much.
A little bit.
Yeah, it seems like you're doing all that. So with as you had said earlier, Brianna, there's the blocking, there's the learning the music, there's the performances, choreography, all of that. People may not realize it's like if you take a look at someone who in the Olympics, maybe they're doing Olympic sport, you're like, gee, I could do something like that. It doesn't sound like it's that hard. People may not realize that is super challenging. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about that, Emma, about the challenging, how that is? Because for me, I think that trying to memorize all those lines would be like a huge challenge to me. So how do you do all that?
Yeah.
And then make it look like you're just, hey, we're just having a good time, and all that,
Yeah, I think with this show in particular, because it's a one act, the bulk of the story is told through the music. So I think having the focus on the music in the beginning and getting started on that music early on really helped us get a head start. And I think it is just easier with musicals for me personally, because I feel like I pick up music decently quickly, and the lines come later. And there's less lines in musicals just because the music tells the story. But I think a way that helps me with learning all of the aspects of it is when we end up putting it all together. Because when you learn the music, you learn that this piece of choreography goes with this lyric, and this chunk of lines comes after this song. So having all the elements kind of puzzle pieced together helps me create kind of the arc in my brain of the whole story.
That's fascinating. And we can't wait to be able to see it. We'll talk about when they're actually going to go. But as we said, November 15th is when it starts. How long have you all been working on this, Brianna, from maybe starting everything to, it's because it's coming up quick. So how long have you all been working on this?
Well, we've done sort of an atypical process. So usually we have like a 6-week rehearsal process, 5 days a week, leading from first day of rehearsal up till opening. We've still gotten in the same number of hours, but we chose to do a slightly atypical process. So we actually started the first week of school right after casting with the first show, but we only rehearsed 1 day a week. So we just rehearsed on Fridays. So like Emma said, we were able to jump in and learn music, and then they had time to sit with it and really absorb it and feel like they knew it. And then when we got into October, was it into October that we shifted to doing 4 days a week? So then we started layering in blocking and the choreography, and having that 1 day week off allowed the students to be student performers as well. Instead of be inundated with classes all day and rehearsals till 10 p.m. every night, there was a night in the week to work on homework or process the choreography I just threw at them so that they're ready to actually do it and clean it the next day.
Right.
And we've learned a lot about the pros and cons of doing a more elongated process like this. And bless my designers, though, they design all 4 shows all season, so they're busy. And so I asked if they would design this one a little early so we could do this. So bless them for being willing to work on two shows at once in August so that
Wow.
we'd have a set design to ground plan to play on.
So it is a year-round process to be able to get ready for these shows.
Yes.
It is.
Yeah, directing and design, faculty, creative team, we're all in the summers doing pre-production meetings and, planning things for the fall and yeah.
So Emma, as you're working on this show, did you work on the previous show as well? Did you have a part in that by way of whether it's maybe behind the scenes or something like that, or have you just been totally focused on this show?
I worked a little bit, or almost main, just in building the set. I wasn't a part of the crew or anything this time around, but I did help build like the revolve and the trees and the lighting that you've seen. If you got to see Almost Maine. But I helped build that set, and I have spent a bulk of my time working on this part, because this is one of my dream roles, so I'm very happy to play it, and I was very excited to get started.
Can I slide that question into something else that's going on in our
Of
department?
course. Yeah, of course.
So something Emma has been doing, though, besides that, is the first show of our spring season is actually a devised theater piece that right now is called Imagination Unleashed. So for the first time, we've got a class going this semester that Emma is in, that one of our faculty is leading a devised theater class. And this semester in that class, they are writing and devising a piece that is going to be on our main stage in the spring.
Wow.
And so she's in the middle with student performers, student designers, all of that, devising the next show in our season.
Emma, when do you sleep? That's what I want to know. When do you sleep? When do you eat? It's like a roller coaster ride, basically. is what it
You got one to know. That's life, though, right? And that's what the show says, right? It's a ride. That's what Cyclone tells you.
Yeah. But at the same token, though, when you're doing something that you love, and I can tell you've got a pure passion for being able to do this.
I do. I love it so much, and I think getting the chance to be in one of my dream shows and then write a show and then hopefully be in that one is just, it's a dream. It's such a good senior year, I think.
All right, let's talk about the performances as will be taking place, as we said, on the November the 15th, which is on a Friday. Tell us about the performances, when they will take place. And I understand there's a significance about the Friday night performance. Kind of tell us about that.
Yes, so we open November 15th, and we have Friday, Saturday evening shows and a Sunday matinee that weekend, as well as the following weekend. But our audiences and ourselves are all used to the typical evening shows. We do 7:30 usually, and then we have our Sunday matinees. However, for our opening performance on Friday the 15th, we're going with the curtain at 6:19 p.m.
Okay.
Which, as you will find out at the beginning of the show, is the exact moment that the Cyclone crashed with the students on board.
Oh, my.
Yes.
Okay. So that'll be very interesting to see what happens there. And so, so how do people get tickets for the shows?
So you can call the central box office. And I memorized the number. 870-972-2781. Is that what I was?
Sounds right to
I was
me.
saying it
Sounds
earlier
right
to
to
make
me.
sure I had it memorized.
Right, exactly.
So the central box office, and can do it over the phone with them there. You can go to the central box office on campus, which is at the First National Bank Arena in the lower red entrance. And all students on campus, with a student ID, get a free ticket to see any of our productions. But they have to be in person because they have to show their ID. So if they're wanting to get a ticket ahead of time, they could go there. And then at Fowler Center, day of shows, there's a box office window that'll open an hour before curtain.
Okay.
That you can walk up and get a ticket. And again, students could bring their student ID right then, get a free ticket, and others can purchase tickets there as well.
Is this show meant for certain audiences, certain ages, those kinds of things that we should know about?
I will say that there are some content warnings on it for adult themes and language. I think it's up to each parent how they parent, and
Sure.
if they're comfortable with their child seeing adult themes or hearing adult language. So if they want further information about that, they can always reach out to us to ask about specifics. But can you think about other things with that?
I mean, I think that about covers it.
Yeah.
Adult themes and language. I
Yeah.
mean, and
Yeah.
like depictions of death, I guess, or
Yeah.
themes of death.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just for the nature of that. But it sounds like, though, y'all have had so much fun
Oh, yes.
putting this together. I can only imagine how the practices have been
Yeah.
probably with all that.
Yeah,
so.
tonight we have what's called crew view because we'll start tech tomorrow, like I said. So all of our crew will come in and start adding their talents to it. But we do a viewing for them on our final rehearsal before that, so they have an idea of the flow of the show and what they'll be doing on it. But it's always exciting as well for the cast to share what they've been doing and the crew to get to see it, and the energy just kind of shifts in the room. So we're excited for that tonight.
And when it all comes together,
Oof.
it's
Yeah.
magic.
Oh, yeah.
Because then y'all are going to put the sound in there and all that stuff. So
Oh,
that'll be
yes.
fantastic. So anyway, thank you both so much
Thank
for coming
you.
up here today.
Thank you so
Please
much.
come back, and we got to get Miss Day Day Robinson up here as
Let's do
well
it. Let's
to
do
be
it.
able to do that. So we'll be talking in the next season. Galen, we'll go put that down for the next season, Mr. Perkins. So we'll do that for sure for the next season of A-State Connections in the spring. Well, that'll do it for this edition of A-State Connections. I do want to thank my guests today, Brianna Larson, also Emma Bryant for that. Also want to thank Instructor of Creative Media Production, Mr. Galen Perkins, my best friend. He does a really good job. And also his amazing students in Video Production 1 who are behind the scenes running the show today. Also thanks to broadcast engineers Timmy Arquette and Aiden Barber, as well as graduate assistant Sujita Karki for help on the show. And thank you for being here and watching A-State Connections. So long, and we'll see you next time.